already the division of those who was not overstanding the Patarak and couldn't in following the actual facts and seeing the doctrine seemed different, and were you even writing them? And I had done notes addressing the doctrine in them because no one was there to answer any of the questions. I was talking to the teachers that was when they was in Decatur. Nobody wanted to address these notes. So I'm like, okay, the doctrine's changing, but no one is explaining how and what's taking place. I said, this doesn't, when I read it, it doesn't read like the scrolls. I ain't saying he didn't write it, but I don't see I'm not following it. It's not clear.
Okay, and everything that my wife and them are putting out, they have handwritten copies of it from me.
Right.
That's why I make sure, because what people are forgetting is that I kept telling them the most important thing I ever said to y'all was, I can't give you what you want until what?
Until you learn to want what I have to give.
And y'all have been wanting a whole bunch of Bible and just like that guy. He wants to put a fez on with the six-pointed star and the crescent. All of that stuff that pertains to Abraham, Moses, and all of that has nothing to do with us as a culture.
Right.
And that's what I'm trying to rectify now and say, excuse me, but everything about the Elohim, the holy tablet was the last patch of the Abrahamic doctrine of the Chaldeans, and now it's time for me to take y'all into what I really came to teach y'all, and that's what they're teaching right now.
Okay.
You follow that? So all that other stuff, a lot of people are out there. It's like a 10-step program, right?
Right.
And I started off way back here with Pure Sunni in 1970, and by the time I get to the 1980s and we move upstate as Hebrews, right? Then I said, okay, this is the last stage because we're back to Hebrew. We went through everything, Nubian Islamic Hebrew, and it's all like now that stuff drop all of that, and now I'm going to start teaching y'all the true doctrine, the doctrine of the ancient mystic order of Melchizedek that falls in the Bible.
Right.
But that's Melchizedek. It's still a biblical name.
Right.
As long as we keep using biblical names, we're staying under the covenant that Abraham made with reptilians. Most people just don't know about the true story about the reptilians, and that's what's being taught now. And with the kind of mind that you have, right? If you put your mind to that, you're going to really see it. A lot of people they get lost because they're like, this is confused about. I said, of course it is, because y'all made me answer. They spent 5 years talking about Jesus,
right?
Then another 5 years talking about Muhammad, and then you want to go back and talk about Moses and the Torah. So I'm not trying to. So I said, listen, I translated that stuff. That's not what I was sent here to give y'all.
Right.
I was sent here to prepare y'all for what you're seeing right now on the History Channel. Is what I was teaching when I first got to the land.
Right.
About Enki and Enlil.
Yep,
and
I was there.
Nobody but me and Zachariah Sitchin was talking about that.
Yep.
At that time. And that's what I was sent. And I knew that Zachariah Sitchin as a Jew, right, was only going to be limited to say certain things. And I knew once the Kakasu got, or the Tabahu got clear of what I'm doing, they're going to lock me up.
Right.
I knew it was going to come. But I said when they lock me up, they only going to put me in a room and sit me down with a pencil and a pen, and that's going to slow my old butt up and make me put everything in black and white. So everything that you see coming up on the internet, once you get there, sit down, my wife will say, this is all he's been writing all this stuff by hand. And that's why that guy, Senator Stephen, used to come to my cell and ask me all kind of questions when he was just an officer, right? He would act like he was interested in doing, and then as soon as he became an SIS, it's his job to shut down the doctrine from going out.
Right.
Not knowing I had already finished all the doctrine, the actual facts, I finished so much stuff. I mean, there's you cannot believe there's boxes of thousands and thousands of sheets.
Right.
Every day I would sit down and write the Arabic, the Hebrew, the cuneiform, the Egyptian, and break down the hieroglyphics and send it home constantly. That's all I did.
Right. But did you ever get to see? Did you ever get to see it, the finished product?
The finished product of what I put out?
Yes.
Yes, that's why he got mad, because he said I would throw up a manuscript, right? I would send it home. They would type it up, put everything, put the pictures and diary stuff in, like the 1818 book and all that kind of stuff, and then send it back to me. Sometimes I would say, well, you made a mistake or so and so and so, but it's not. It's a translation or the Hebrew or something. Not that important, because the doctrine is clear.
Right.
So yes, everything that's out was cycling through me.
Okay.
It would come back to me. I would proofread it and build on it and then send it back out. And I saw that store at one point where they were getting confused with the Egyptians and the Sumerians.
Right.
I said they get confused. Every time I say that this is a person is equivalent to this person, they go, oh, so you're saying that Amun-Ra is so-and-so. And I'm like, no. I said equivalent to. So I said, let me stop and go back and correct and get all the Anunnaki stuff straightened and then come back to the Egyptian stuff.
Right.
And that's what you see.
Okay. Because it does seem like folks still want to be under the needing a culture, needing something to attach to. And I was even telling when Deucey York was going around, promoting, getting the signatures and we're indigenous and was trying to make you head of state or whatever he was on. I had spoke to him then and said, if we're going to be indigenous and not fall under these statues, then that's what we're going to have to represent in our minds and become free mentally and stop associating and attaching things, because as soon as somebody says something Bible, they automatically think of religion or shit, so.
Anything that's Bible is religion.
Right, well, yeah, that's true. It's a book to believe in. So.
A religious book, yeah. And the Quran, the same thing.
Right.
What happened with Dacio was he was working on my family line to my mother and her husband David York's line for the Yamasis.
Mm-hmm.
Right? He wasn't even familiar with. Most people were not familiar with my trip to Liberia and all that stuff.
Right.
All they know is that Pop disappeared from the land. If you was coming to the land, you get a period of time for like 2 or 3 years with people saying, Pop's ain't around no more.
Yeah.
And then other people doing Osiris and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then they said, oh, well, we heard he moved to Athens. Right, I bought a house in Athens, but I was going back and forth to Africa getting all the paperwork done.
Mm-hmm.
You follow? So when I got incarcerated, when I tried to get that officer my diplomatic card, he stuck it in his pocket, cursed me out, right? Shut down on Liberia until I could get all of the paperwork together, okay?
Right.
And then Dacio and them got together and said, we're going to go forward with the tribal stuff, but with that we didn't work on it. I said, well, anything, because when I stood up on June 30th in 2002, or 3, in court, and the judge agreed and put it on record.
Right.
And I agreed. Then when I came down from New York, as I explained, and the man up there said his heritage is not in question, we had a jurisdiction issue right there.
Right.
So what they did is made the judge who agreed with me recuse himself, put royals on, and then dropped
dead
doctor to state and supersede, right? And they never took into consideration the Vienna Convention because they didn't know I was going to throw it in their face until I filed a judicial notice. And then he tried to deny that. Then I had Liberia do amicus brief, and they tried to deny that, but it's already on record because the diplomat doesn't have to pay tax, so the diplomat doesn't have to pay any tax or get any civil suits. I can't be under a RICO.
Right.
You see? And how can I be under a RICO by myself if tax was severed in the state?
Right.
So all these things I was letting build up. So but people, you got to understand that the problem with our people is they've been programmed with religion. It's hard to make them say, for me to say, you're not a Muslim, you're not a Christian, you're not a Jew, you're not a Rastafarian. All of that pertains to covenants that Abraham, a Chaldean of the Zoroastrian religion, made with their gods who were extraterrestrals. Anunnaki didn't have nothing to do with us. The Anunnaki didn't have anything to do with us. It's natural. Right. But people want to stay religious. Black people love religion. They love to stay into this believing in nothing, and Jesus is going to save them. They love all that. And it's hard to make them realize, that you're talking about carnivores. These are carnivores you're talking about. And they're flesh-eating cannibals, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And you try to tell them that, and they're like, no. And they say, no, King of King and Lord of Lord doesn't mean King of King and Lord. It means kin of his kindred and masters of masters who are carnivores and people are their food. Right. And you sound crazy saying that until it comes on History Channel, and then these coppers who start saying it, then people say, oh, wow, they say that extraterrestrials might be using us for food. Hello? You know what I'm saying? And so that's the problem. You're going to tell people, get rid of this 6-pointed star and all this, get rid of all these star stuff. because you don't know what the star represents.
Right.
We just say, you know, star goes back to Esther and Atlas, a bunch of stuff.
Right. See.
Put all that and get into what we are and who we are and what we can verify because of DNA.
Mm-hmm.
They got DNA from the mitochondrial DNA, proving that the original people were the Sans people from South Africa, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the people who talk with a click. The people who came from the water. That's our descendants. That's who we are from. But people want the Chaldean religion. They want the Jerusalem religion. They want to say, I'm Judah and I'm Ishmael and I'm this. But that's what y'all pushed down my thought. Okay. Now you say, well, didn't you teach us a long time ago that we were Ishmaelites and the tribe of Judah? Yes, because Abraham raped Hagar, who was an Egyptian.
Right.
You know, he raped one of us, and that's how they got into our seed. And she made sure her son married an Egyptian woman. But that's how the Ishmaelite and the tribe of Judah and all that gets in. But if you want to get back to who we really were and are, then that's not us. That's a mixture. That's how Nubians got born.
Mm-hmm.
Nubians are mixed seeds. You know?
Right, from the Nubians. Right.
Yeah, that's all that is.
Well,
So that's where the conflict comes in. I'm like, all I was trying to do is hold enough time and make like they would say, I'm quite sure Victoria heard that term, throw enough stuff on the wall and something sticks, right?
right.
I know that Liberia is real because I did it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I know that they was not going to be able to get around it, but I knew that if I would have preempted it, that they were going to shut it down if I don't get the right support. So I didn't really fight with any American Western lawyers for Liberia because I know the law in Africa is totally different than here.
Mm-hmm.
Before I got my diplomatic test, I made sure I studied it,
Right.
the protocols of Africa. And I said, okay, I need an African, I need somebody from my own tribe, the Bassa tribe, who's willing to go all the way. And that's why we're at this point. Because nobody else was able to do it. And the girl that was breaking her butt doing it is sick in the hospital. In Sinatra. And these people hated her. They won't let her they won't even let her come there to land here. And she never did nothing. It's just that they've been following that same slime bucket and Headlines was following this case all the time. You see?
Right.
And he said, you know what I was told on my way to the visit yesterday?
What's that?
The officer was taking me, he said, so I saw her here, you going home. See? I never told him nothing.
Right.
I didn't never say nothing about that. I said the first time I seen this case, I heard you going home. I said, yep. See, they already know it here. But they don't want to be abounded to it because they violated the international law.
Right.
The Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations did some serious stuff.
Right.
Because there's precedents involved. Every diplomat's life is in danger if America thinks they can get cocky enough to just hold a diplomat.
Exactly.
And the first game the State Department, you say, well, years ago when you approached the State Department, why did they pick you? You know why? Because they proposed that I was an honorary diplomat. An honorary diplomat does not have full immunity.
Right.
Now we have confirmed that I'm not an honorary diplomat. You know, I'm a full diplomat, and we got all of it laid out, and that's why I said that. That's why I made sure y'all got that letter. If I was isolating y'all from my inner circle, I would have never said to make sure you get a copy of the letter.
Right.
I want to get a copy of the letter because one of the most important parts of the letter to me is the very last last phrase line, not the last line, but somewhere in the. I'm trying to find it in my. Okay.